Hello and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today is Thursday, November 19th, 2015, and we have Lenny Ambrose, Marketing Director of St. Arnold's Brewing Company, the oldest brewery in Texas, joining us tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of St. Arnold, where they are today, and where they're going. So pour that beer in a glass and get comfortable. And while the theme music plays, that'll be a perfect time for you to subscribe to our Pints and Quarts podcast, which you can find on iTunes or Stitcher or any other podcast form. You can also follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at CBN Community. We're on Instagram at craftbeer_nation. And of course, you can find us on Google Plus or any other podcast form. You can also follow us on Facebook. All right. Once again, our guest tonight, Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing. Lenny, how are you doing tonight?
Great, Randy.
So you are you are the marketing director. So you you know where the beer goes and where the beer is going to be going next. Are you guys only in Texas right now?
Hey, Randy. So I'm hearing like an echo.
There's a YouTube show open somewhere. Somebody has the YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So you guys only in Texas right now?
Okay, hold on. I killed the YouTube. That's
Technology.
Is that better?
Man.
Yes, a lot better.
So you guys only distribute in Texas, right?
No, we're in Louisiana and Florida as well.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So we were only in Texas for 16 or so years, and then we branched out just a little bit.
Okay, so St. Arnold being the oldest brewery in Texas. What year were you guys started?
We're 1994. Brock Wagner, who was a Rice University graduate that learned to home brew in his dorm room, he started St. Arnold, and that's the date we shipped our first keg. So you say 1994, oldest craft brewery. Doesn't sound very old, but in Texas, you know, the market's a little different than it is like on the East Coast or the West Coast. So it took a little while longer for things to trickle down here. We're not the first craft brewery, but we're the oldest one that is stuck around. So there were a few open when we first opened.
What are some of those challenges that you guys face in Texas when it comes to craft beer?
I think one thing that encompasses it is Brock, our owner, likes to say, starting St. Arnold in 1994 was a good idea in 2004, meaning that once it caught up a little bit, then it was better. But from even when I started at the company, which was 9 years ago, we were still at every event just telling people what craft beer was, you know, just starting from the basic, this is an amber ale and this is why it's different than whatever else you're drinking. So I think it took a little longer just to catch up. And I would even do events when I started at Rice University, where Brock went to school and, you know, had like ceremonies and stuff celebrating the brewery and forever, and was one of the most famous alumni. And I would do events, and people still didn't know we even existed there. You know,
Wow.
like
You're not located. You're not at Rice, are you?
No, we're really close and have a good affiliation with the school. So, but I just think it was, for a time in Houston at least, people weren't seeking out craft beer themselves. We really had to take it to them, and now, of course, that's changed. And so you're not explaining just what craft beer is to start things off, at least.
Yeah, because I was 3 years ago when I was in Houston, or 2 years. They were having actually in campus, or they were having some beer festival or something going on there. I was like very surprised. Yeah.
On the campus? How awesome is that?
Yeah, it was on a park next to was in the park there nearby, or I thought it was part of the campus big parking lot. So I thought that was very interesting.
One thing that's interesting about Rice is they have a bar for graduate students on campus that they cannot make a profit. So they sell beer super cheap, and if they happen to be over for the day, then they have to give you money back when you order.
What?
I need to move to that.
So,
I
Go back
need
to college.
so
I
like,
needed a graduate degree like yesterday. Then
you could actually like order a beer and they have to give you, 50 cents back after you order the beer.
that's awesome. So, were you have you been with St. Arnold from the very beginning?
No, almost 9 years.
Okay, that's why. So, are you employee number two? Okay, so almost nine. So you,
No.
Well, 9 years is a lifetime for craft brewing.
yeah.
Yeah.
A decade ago, it was just crawling at.
So you've seen a lot of the changes that have taken place in Texas, at least from just from laws regulating ABV to distribution laws changing and stuff like that. I mean, the landscape has to look completely different now than it did 9 years ago. No.
Yeah, the biggest example of that is until 2 years ago, just over 2 years, we could not sell our own beer on premise. So we would have to, we did tours and then we would charge for the glass, and all this was fine under the laws, but we just had to be creative about it. And then we're part of the Texas Craft Brewers Guild, which was leading the charge to get laws changed, for every craft brewery. And so it changed to where we could sell beer on premise. We still can't sell beer to go. And one of the challenges for us actually is, since the law has changed, is to adapting to that new freedom, because we don't want to take anything away from our current customer that's been coming to the breweries and the tours and has enjoyed this for years. So I think it's almost easier in some ways for a brewery opening now to start their business plan with being able to sell beer on premise, rather than us where we're just trying to adapt to that. I mean, I'm not crying about it, I'm not complaining,
Right.
but it's just trying to figure it out.
So I see on your line that you have a lot of old world style beer, if that's a thing. A lot of American breweries are so about hops or very barrel aged, and I see you have a lot of coaches and vice beers. Is that a conscious decision? Is just something that happens naturally, or does the brewery have some influences that you guys got into that more in that
Yeah,
segment?
I think part of it is being around as long as we have, and so our kind of philosophy is do an amazing Kolsch that's won multiple medals at the Great American Beer Festival, and do a really good amber and kind of a basic European style IPA, and then mix in the special release stuff. Um, we have a pretty aggressive barrel program now, but these are things that Brock, our founder, wasn't doing years ago, and also you didn't kind of have to do 12 years ago, because again we were still trying to educate people on what an amber ale is. So I think we were one of the first to really kind of capture that special release thing too, with our Divine Reserve series, where people were lined up outside the big liquor store downtown, this chain called Specs, and local TV stations would come out for it, and the newspaper would cover it, because that wasn't happening all over the country.
Oh, he tripped his sound.
We
We
lost your
lost
sound.
we lost him a little bit. We're having some
Yeah,
technical
we
issues.
lost your audio, Lenny. I thought my headphones went out. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just play it cool until these things come back on.
Can y'all not hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you now.
So let's give a breathe, and you can continue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Go ahead.
so it's trying to figure out how to please your longtime customer and still adapt to kind of the changing world, and to what the current craft beer customer was or is now.
I'll tell you what, because the reason I ask you that is that when I go to a brewery for the first time, and I did that in St. Arnold, is I never order their stouts or their IPAs. I try to get their pilsners, or if they have a light lager, even if it's not my favorite style. But it's kind of a thermometer to me to say how good a brewery is. And I thought your Pilsners was very solid. So it's always a good sign for me. It's a sign that the brewery is getting very consistent. So that was a nice thing.
Well, thanks. And to that end, when other brewers come by to visit, Firestone Walker had some guys, and Goose Island had some guys recently come over. They're not asking, hey, can we go up to your barrel room and try that? They want to drink Lawnmower, which is our Kolsch, or Summer Pills, or whatever. That's what they want to drink when they're there.
They're secretly judging you, Lenny.
Yeah, because there's no way. Yeah, you can mask a lot on dark beers or very hoppy beers, but it's hard to mask mistakes on a Kolsch and a Pilsner.
Well, the longer I've been around craft beer, I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I don't drink very much special beer anymore. I drink an IPA or a Kolsch or whatever because I have kids, I have to help with homework, I have to cook dinner, and I'm not going to drink a 13% Imperial Stout while I'm just hanging out, helping my daughter get to bed,
Yeah, good point. So which is your flagship beer? Is what I'm trying to say. Goodness gracious.
The flagship beer that started the company was the Amber Ale, but it is gradually kind of dropped down in importance or rank of sales. Seasonal is our number one seller if you combine all the seasonal beers together. Brock was one of the first two to kind of really do a very hard defined seasonal program. He thought the first batch of Christmas Ale was going to last like 3 weeks, and it sold out in like a week, and they were kind of panicked, back then in like 98, I think. And that's so slowly built to where everybody looks forward to the seasonals. And then Lawnmower has definitely become that stalwart brand across the state for an easy drinking introductory beer. But again, I found myself drinking it more than I ever have the last like 2 years.
So which beer occupies most of your production? Lawnmower?
Yeah, probably so now. Yeah. We just released Art Car IPA, which is the Art Car Parade in Houston is this big like folksy event, and so all of our sales reps have these painted cars that we call art cars. So we have an event that we sponsor called the Art Car Parade, and then we named a beer that, and that's slowly building steam that we just released actually on IPA Day, which I think I was supposed to do this on IPA Day before, and then we had like the beer release then.
So let me ask you this. I also see that one of the beers that you guys participate in is Homefront IPA, and I know we've spoken to the guys at Center of the Universe down in down in Ashland, Virginia. They're involved with Center of the Universe. They're involved with Homefront IPA. How did you guys get involved in that? And well, first of all, can you talk a little bit about what Homefront IPA is, and then how you guys got involved with the beer with these other breweries?
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing where a bunch of breweries brew the same recipe, or at least their twist on this recipe, and it's basically an IPA with a lot of orange peel. And it was one of the first citrus-based, citrus additive IPAs that I had ever had when we did it a couple years ago. And so different breweries around the country brew the same recipe, and then everybody donates a lot of the proceeds back to Operation Homefront, which kind of helps veterans transition back into life when they get back, or helps their families like keep the lights on at home. But one thing that was cool for us is we were able to get all of our suppliers to participate and donate the caps and donate the bottles and the labels and the case boxes, and even our distributor donated back their margin. So the first year, I think we donated like $100,000 back to Homefront because we were able to do a wide release with it, and everything was donated. Nothing had to be paid for. So it was like the best possible scenario. And it was kind of cool that these were brewers, the other brewers around the country that we didn't really have a relationship with before, but we were able to organize a thing where everybody sent a bottle of or can of their version of it, and so we were able to get that, kind of pass that around the country.
Awesome.
So we just need to get the maltsters and the hop yards on board and make.
No,
and
they
make
did.
this.
They did the same thing. No, with the
Oh,
malts
really?
and hops too. Yep.
Oh, so
Yep.
this was just effort. That's all it cost you was effort, huh?
Yeah. Right. Water.
And machine time. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I forgot about the ingredients. That's right. The malt companies and the hops were also donated, and we got the oranges were donated as well. We got those donated by a local grocery chain, and we had a zesting party where everybody bought like a zester at the brewery, and we had to just zest them and put it in big buckets so we could use it.
That's awesome.
That sounds like something that you need a lot of beer to go through it.
Yeah, right. Do you got a lot of hiccuping and burping during the show? Because I keep trying to stop myself from doing that. But I just...
Hey, man, go for it, man. We're drinking beer. It's expected. Yeah. Don't hold back.
Now, tell me something before we move on. But I know Texas, too long ago, was not the easiest market to be laws and regulation and things. Mm-hmm. And then you decide to go from Texas and choose another state that is Florida. Which is so is there any particular reason? Because most of the beers I got from you were actually from Florida, I think. Only a couple of times I got it in Texas.
Okay. Well, a part of that was, and this was the case in Louisiana too, is that there were distributors that were asking for our beer. And especially the Louisiana one actually was that they were chasing us, and we kind of thought, well, we don't really have any intention to go out of Texas, but if we're going to, we should do it now while someone's chasing us rather than us chasing them. And then Florida, we used to make some beer for a chain called BJ's. You ever heard of them?
Oh, yes.
Yep. They're like, okay.
We're very familiar.
So we brewed a lot of their beer for their Louisiana and Florida restaurants. So we kind of thought if we have a beer already kind of going in that direction, we might as well take advantage of that. So that's sort of the basic reason, and we don't really have any designs to go anywhere else right now.
Quick plug for BJ's.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not regular commercial beer. Okay, the beer at BJ's is legit.
I mean the food is really good too, and the price, the quality of their food for the price of a meal there is excellent. Yeah. So kudos to them. You guys do have a restaurant in location too, right, Lenny?
Yes, we do. Yep, on site, and we're gonna expand. There used to be a tow lot across the street from the brewery, which is how a lot of people knew where the brewery was because they had been towed there. So we bought the tow lot from the tow company, and we're in the process of buying the street from the city of Houston that separates us. So we'll be able to move across there and expand. We're not moving because we're not getting rid of the current facility, but expand over there, and we're going to do more public space and create St. Arnoldville is sort of what we're calling it.
Because I remember you have some nice long tables, like lots of wood in that room there.
Yeah, it's like a big German-style tasting hall, a big long room. The building used to be a Houston Independent School District food service warehouse, and everything that you see that is nice in our building is something that we added. It was not a really nice place before, so we had to do a lot of renovation, but it's been a great building, and it overlooks downtown, and we have a great view, and the building itself is like a billboard for us. And it's haunted, all the cool stuff.
You know what would be cool? What? If we could buy this street so we can connect these two properties.
Right.
Can you buy a street? I don't know. Let's try it. Okay. They let us buy the street. That's awesome.
They had to put up this sign that said, petition to buy the street. If anybody objects, do so in 30 days, blah, blah, blah. So.
So, any plans to? Well, speaking of distribution, how? What's your brew house capacity? Well, not your capacity, but how many barrels did you brew in 2014, and what are you projected to do this year?
2014 was, I think we were at 62,000.
Hmm.
And then this year, I actually don't know yet because the BJ's business went away this year. So we kind of lost a little of that production, and we are still growing, but I don't know how much it is
Okay.
with losing theirs. But in our current configuration, we can get up to about 100,000 barrels in
Nice.
the way we're situated right now.
Any plans for expansion to states like, I don't know, say Virginia, any, or
No,
Pennsylvania?
I just, I think I see people expanding, but then I also see people kind of doubling down on their home markets, and I think
Hmm.
that's what we're going to continue to do. We've been around since '94, and we're very well established. We get good media coverage, we get great participation in our events, and we still sell shy of 1% of all the beer sold in the city of Houston. So it just goes to show you like how much beer is actually consumed in Houston. So there's still
Yeah,
plenty of room to grow there.
yeah, yeah,
Houston's a
definitely.
nice city. Yeah, it's very unusual for Texas. Very cosmopolitan.
Yeah, and we're about to pass Chicago. Within a few years, we'll pass Chicago in population even. So it'll
Wow.
be the third largest city in the country.
Holy cow! Is it the fourth now?
It is.
Holy cow! I had no idea. I would have never
I
guessed
know.
that.
No one does. No one does. In fact, most people just assume Dallas is bigger than Houston,
Well,
just because of the TV show or whatever.
if Houston's four, Dallas isn't even. Dallas is like eight. So yeah,
Yeah, or 11 maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
down the
I think the thing with Dallas is that there's so many little towns, there satellites
yeah,
towns that
yeah.
is
Yeah.
attached to it. That you don't know where it starts and ends. But
Houston is 5 million, about 5 million now.
Okay, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that your biggest, well, a very popular seasonal beer for you is your Christmas ale.
It is. Yeah, it sells
It's
just Christmas ale being out from like mid-November or early November to late December sells more than a few of our year-round beers, actually. But our number one seasonal is Summer Pills because it's summer here all the time.
all year.
Yeah,
That's why the Kolsch represents the more of your production than any other beer because
it
it's always
does.
hot in Texas.
Yeah, you're always mowing your lawn here. It's always hot here, so fancy lawnmower beer.
That just seems so wrong, man.
yeah, you have is your B shop do you change, or is the same beer all the time, or is it different beer? Because that's your barrel aged series, right?
Bishop's Barrel, yeah. You
Yeah.
said B shop, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah, best
B
shop.
shop. What is?
Told you. I warned you before.
I know that's right. Yeah, Bishop's Barrel is our barrel age series, and that changes depending on what we have. So the next one we'll have come out in mid-December is our Christmas ale aged in white wine barrels with sour cherries. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah, come on, man.
I know. I should make it happen, right? You give me a
Yeah,
plane ticket right now.
Gil's been to the brewery, and you have not, Randy. So.
I know. So we need. That's a problem we need to rectify clearly.
Yeah, even though you're a cock, we'll let you come. I didn't
And
curse. That's a real
the
thing.
the dab from the gator. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's okay. I understand how it is. You guys have a good year, and you want to, you
That's
have a
right.
couple down years. You get a good year, get back on the high horse. You want to kick people who are down. That's cool.
Pylon. Yeah.
That's okay.
Everybody was
Remember,
very nice when I was in Columbia. So.
see, find the fine people of South Carolina still treat
Right.
you with hospitality, and then you come on and call me a cock.
Nice. Niceness
Own
never
it,
made.
man. Own it.
Well, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a little bit of, well, mainly one bit of news that's dominating at least dominated this past week in craft beer. But before we do, we want to plug our sponsor, ManCan. We had them on last week, Chris Mueller from ManCan. He was on along with Wayne Wambos from Cigar City, and I don't know if you can get a ManCan, get one, because this is going to revolutionize the growler game, because now you can get a growler of beer and it will stay fresh for as long as, well, almost just about as long as you buying a keg of beer.
It's
Get this growler.
basically a miniature keg, right?
Yeah,
With a tap and everything. Yeah.
that's right. So, and they have two versions. You can get the version with the picnic tap, which is, like a lot of what you see at parties, and they have the version that comes with an actual real live Perlick tap attached to the man can, and you put your CO2 cartridge in, so now you have this beer that's under CO2 the entire time, so it stays fresher way longer than your traditional growler. So if you like growler beer, if you got your local brewery and you're like me, you're somebody who only buys a 32-ounce growler of beer because sometimes you don't want to finish 128 ounces when you open it. You don't necessarily want to finish 64 ounces. Get a man can, get that gallon of beer, get that half gallon of beer, and you can keep it fresh for almost as long as you want, and it helps your investment in that growler. that beer that you bought, you want that beer to stay fresh. You just bought it, you want it to stay fresh.
And
So get a man
all
can.
guests on Craft Beer Nation get a free man can, correct?
If I had a man can to give you, I'd give you one, man.
Yo.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about this this big news that I'm sure everybody can guess what it is. Gil, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Before we just so our listener know what we talk about, probably do, but if you know it, Ballast Point just got bought. But I want to talk a little bit about the company that bought them before we go into Ballast Point. And Constellation Brands is not new on buying craft beer and breweries at all. They've been around for a while. I think they're one of the largest wine producers in the world right now. So they're not new to beverage and alcoholic drinks. So I think they're located. I know they're located in Victor, New York, and so it's an enormous brand. They are in 125 countries. They got the rights to brew Negra Modelo down up here in North America. So they're not a small company, and the reason I'm doing the background on the company is that it's hard to see how this is going to play around, because they're not just a financial or a company, just an investment fund just coming in and putting money on the brewery. So it's so they bought Ballast Point this week for quite a lot of money.
Wait, Gil, before you go to that, the Constellation also bought so when AB InBev bought the parent company for like Corona and Modelo and Dos Equis and all that stuff, the Justice Department forced them to sell off their North America
part of it,
yeah, the North America part of it, and Constellation is the group that scooped those brands up.
Yeah, they bought the rights to brew the beer with that brand. Yeah, that's what they did. So they have a lifetime. They own the brand for a lifetime. It's kind of a complicated situation. They own it and they don't. They are the only ones who can brew beers under the name Modelo. So yeah, they've been around for quite a long time, and they've been acquiring little by little different breweries that are not as well known, but they're most on wine and spirits. And I think part of Ballast Point not only being a brewery, but it also produces spirits, I think it helped the deal. Because if we think about it, it was sold, Lagunitas was $500 million for 50% stake.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a much larger brewery with, I mean, I visited their location in Chicago. It's huge. It's bigger than the one in California. And then they come down and pay, that much money for Ballast Point. So they pretty
So
much
like the
value.
31st biggest brewery in the country.
Right. But again, it's hard to say because we're talking about the 31st brewery, but they bought everything. So there's the spirits part, the rum and whiskey, are a big part of their business. So we're not very familiar with that, but it's a lot of money. I remember we talked to Yusuf, which is um, COO, I think that's his title at
Hmm.
Ballast Point, and I remember we were talking about, and he talked about, because Ballast Point started as a home brew equipment, grain. They sell stuff for home brewers as a home brew market, and about a little under 20 years I think ago, and $1 billion, man, that's a lot of money.
Well, I think a large part of that $1 billion valuation has to do with the simple fact that you just said we don't know much about their spirits, right? The markup on hard liquor is tremendous, and the fact is that us on the East Coast, a lot of us have never even seen a bottle of Ballast Point liquor. So that goes to show what the upside is for that particular segment of Ballast Point. So there's probably a ton of expansion that's available to push their hard liquor line out. And so that, in my opinion, I would love to assume that had to factor into the $1 billion valuation of the company. And
Right.
and I'll say this.
Yeah, they've been to Europe for about 6 months, like traveling around, and I know they accumulated tons of prizes on countries with traditions of producing some of their stuff, which uh, it shows them that they're doing something right there.
Yeah. And Lenny, I want to get your opinion on this real quick, but I'm gonna say this. Normally, in the past, I've been really hypocritical of breweries that sold out, and I probably would have been hypocritical had they sold out for like $1 million. But if I'm the owner of Ballast Point and somebody comes knocking with $1 billion check, where do I sign? I am gone. But that's just me.
Where your passion and your law, it started, and where
Look,
the
look,
business
look.
side
I'll
goes.
I'll I'll take that $1 billion, sit back and wait for that non-compete clause to run out in the business, and then start another brewery. But
Yeah,
Lenny, what are your thoughts,
you
man?
know, well, y'all keep saying evaluation, and I don't know that I would use that word because I don't know if anybody would have given an evaluation of Ballast Point for $1 billion. I think that's what they were just offered and were willing to pay for it. That could not have been an accurate evaluation of what the company was worth at the time. But I agree that the spirit component has to be a big part of it. And at Ballast Point, get yours, and as long as your quality doesn't change, then I don't have a problem with it. I think we are going to start seeing this more and more. That if people get hung up on that kind of stuff, then pretty soon you're not going to have anybody's beer to drink anymore. Um, I saw my friend sent me like a tweet from one of the BrewDog guys that said like, "Sayonara, Ballast Point. I'll never buy your beer again." And if they don't want to, that's fine. But plenty of people will still, and they're not going to be hurt by it. And uh, Brock, our owner, has never been shy about it. We're still independently owned by him, but he has always said outwardly, he always has a number in his head. Now
Yeah,
that number changes as the years go by, but there's always a number, and maybe it's a completely insane number, like $1 billion, but that's kind of how I saw that conversation going. Who
yeah,
knows, if we were in the room, like they called, Constellation called, "Hey, Ballast Point, we want to buy your brewery." And they said, "No, we're good." And they said, "No, for real, just tell us a number. What would you sell it for?" I don't know, $1 billion.
And
All
the
right,
guys
done.
at Ballast Point were like,
All right.
he said $1 billion. No,
Right.
a billion.
With a B.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, and again, and I think there's that for everything. I think there's a limit. We need to we need to remember that as a SEO, I mean, they're not SEO about it's not selling. We're not talking about a life support system or pure water, or a piece. We're talking about a brewery. That doesn't matter how passionate we are about it.
Mm-hmm.
Still is not an essential thing for your life. I mean, it is for mine, but not for most people. And at one point of the business, and you think about your family and you're being, that, and it's hard to judge. I have, I have big problems with AB InBev, and it's not with the quality of their beer. My problem is with their business practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're gonna know a year or two from now. And I think I think I agree totally with Lenny. I think we're screaming too loud, but we need to be careful because 2-3 years from now we might think, okay, now I have to give it back on my words, and if I want to get my grapefruit sculpin, it's gonna be hard. But it's all about the quality, I think. I think the market will level itself. If the quality of Ballast Point goes down, people that are crazy about it are just going to stop buying. So I think, and I can tell you what, I don't see craft beer drinkers talk about any other beer other Bourbon County Stout and maybe some of the ancient beers that Goose Island do. Nobody drinks their other beers anymore. So, a lot of them don't taste right anymore, and I think we can scream and and say we don't like that, but all you have to do is don't buy it. Your dollars are yours, so
You vote with your dollar.
you vote with your dollars. So,
And one thing we have to keep in mind too is this what we're doing is like this much of the amount of people that drink Ballast Point and drink craft beer in general.
Mm-hmm.
I was just with two friends last weekend. They are religious craft beer drinkers. They don't know who owns who. They're just as fine drinking a Sam Adams Winter Lager or a Ballast Point IPA or a Goose Island 312. And maybe they heard once that AB bought Goose Island, but we have to keep in mind that we know stuff because we follow it and we're in chat rooms and we listen to podcasts, but we are such a small percentage of the beer buying public that we can stand on our high horse all we want, but in the end it doesn't matter as long as the general public, the true general public, still likes what they're producing.
Yeah. Still, I like to select who I give my money to. I want to make sure. And again, my problem with AB InBev is their predatory system of business and the way they do business.
Yep. I
don't want my money to be used for that. So I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. The same thing. I don't know how I feel about the deal with Lagunitas. I'm still processing that. I don't want to be on one side or I think we're living in a time of extremes. We're either this way, we're either Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. People seems that you're not allowed to have a middle ground anymore nowadays, and I want to reserve myself the rights to be something in between and decide as it goes.
Yeah, understood. Fair and absolutely valid argument. And Lenny, to your point earlier about a BrewDog, they did the same thing with Lagunitas when Lagunitas sold. They just like pulled all Lagunitas products from their brew pubs, and you know what? That's fine. They have that right. They can do that. I mean,
we still love them.
Nobody can tell them how to run their business, and if those, I actually like the fact that those guys are that passionate about craft beer. I like that. That's awesome. And one thing is another to your point, Lenny. Us beer nerds, we tend to think that other craft beer drinkers are beer nerds as well. They're not. Not all of them are beer nerds. And Lenny, you just proved that point.
Yeah.
Just because they're craft beer drinkers doesn't mean that they're a beer nerd. Not of them don't care or don't care to find out what some of they don't care that Shock Top is AB. They don't care that Blue Moon is Miller. They just I don't
Which is the point of those beers. I mean, they're
We lost your audio
designed.
again, Lenny.
No,
Oh, did you?
you're still
Hello?
good. You're still good.
A lot of
Okay.
maybe I lost my audio.
Yeah.
Gil, can you
They're
hear me?
designed so people don't know what they
Oh,
are.
well, y'all can hear me,
Yeah,
but
I
can't
think
hear y'all.
I think it's hard. It's hard for people to accept change, on things that you love. Mainly, again, you're not paying the $5 Miller. You're paying. I mean, we're paying a lot of money when we buy craft beer. I don't know about other people, but they're kind of It's like they spend. It's part of my salary goes towards that, and so people get worried about grapefruit sculpin is a big deal. People will love it, and I'm sure you have your share of fans in Texas. That any changes, it's frightening for people, and
Yeah.
so I guess Well, in any case, we're gonna move a little bit forward now on the show. So this week, do you guys are you guys coming with anything new? Do you have any releases? Anything that you guys coming out recently? I know you spoke about your raw holiday.
Yeah. And just this past week, we released a beer called Sailing Santa that is a combination of our Christmas Ale and our Alyssa IPA, which is named after a tall ship that's docked in Galveston. So that's why it's Sailing Santa. And that's one of those beers that kind of came about because people combined it themselves, and the name Sailing Santa was just something that fans sort of made up, and then we decided to make it ourselves and package it. That's not necessarily
do you make St. Arnold with a white beard?
He does have a white beard. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Of course we do. And and then we actually spiced this a little bit. We used a new hop that we got. It's kind of an experimental hop called Snap, and it's a pelletized hop that already has spices built in the pellets. So when you dry hop it, you get the spice as well in there instead of having to also dry spice it. And so we tested out, and it worked great.
I wonder if they have that kind of thing available for homebrewers.
Yeah, I don't know if they do yet. I had never heard of it, but again, it's called Snap, and you smell it, and it smells like a combination of ginger snaps, which is why it's called that, and hops. And they won't tell us what the exact hops are or what the exact spices are because it's like a proprietary blend. So there's that, and then, like I said, the Bishop's Barrel that comes out in early December. That's the Christmas Ale in white wine barrels with sour cherries, but that's pretty limited.
Meaning that I'm gonna get known. Is that what you mean? Down here on the East Coast.
Well,
basically.
Come on. Like I told Randy, come on.
I go to Texas every year. It's just not for the holidays.
Why do you come to Texas?
I'm trying to remember. I think it's May. This year's might be February.
For what reason? You just come?
I work for a non-profit that has locations all over the country. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, please let me know when you're here.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Any other new releases ready?
Have you done the releases already?
No, I wonder. I have a bunch here. Just go ahead and give the new releases on.
All right, so release we have coming up, Deschutes out of Bend, Oregon. They're releasing their Dissident. That's now actually going to be an annual release. It was released on November 12th, and then they have the Abyss coming up on December 17th. I'm going to go ahead and say that Abyss is primo at about 3 years.
Okay,
Fantastic.
I got a release. I emailed the brewery, and so I learned that they're coming with two. Other than the regular, they're coming to two different versions of the Abyss as well. They're gonna release. They kind of out together. It's their 10 years brewing that beer. So there's 3 different beers being released. 2 of them aged in different barrels.
Do you know what kind of barrels? Is it rye?
It's the rye and the whiskey. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So the regular, the rye, and the bourbon.
Yeah.
Okay. That's gonna probably be a fantastic beer. Yeah, and all three variants are probably gonna be fantastic. Stone Brewing they're putting out their Depth Charge Double Bastard, which is double bastard with espresso beans, or I'm assuming it was conditioned on espresso beans. That's already out. You can find that in your Bastard 4-pack. Founders out of Grand Rapids, they're releasing their Project Pam, which is a black IPA brewed with several hops and aged in maple syrup bourbon barrels. It's a 10% beer, and that's going to be released on tomorrow. Monday night out of Atlanta, earlier this week, they released their Drafty Kilt Bourbon Barrel Scotch Ale. I've actually had that beer, and it is fantastic. Go get it if you can, if they still got it. Heavy Seas, we've had them on the show before. They are releasing their 20-year Storm Imperial ESB. An Imperial ESB.
Is their anniversary beer, 20-year anniversary beer, yeah?
And that's aged in bourbon barrels. That's going to be coming out on December 8th. Weyerbacher out of Gill's Neck of the Woods, out of Easton, Pennsylvania. It's a double release. It's their Tango Belgian Dark Ale brewed with cherries and their Insanity English Barley Wine aged in oak barrels. Those were released on yesterday. They just get it all out at one time, put all the big beers out at one time.
Yeah.
Avery, they're coming. I really want this beer. Their Vanilla Bean Stout Release Party is going to be brewed the first week in December. Well, going to be released the first week in December.
Yeah, the release party is on the 1st of September.
If you know anything about Avery, you know they can make some stouts. So I expect the Vanilla Bean Stout to have a lot of vanilla in it, and so I'd like to get my hands on that. North Coast Old Stock Ale 2014 Reserve aged in whiskey barrels just came out. I don't know if that is technically an old ale or if it's a barley wine. What I do know is that it's delicious. So
I think it's technically a barley wine, but yeah.
Okay. Hardywood Park out of Richmond, Virginia. They just had a couple weeks ago. They had on Halloween. They had their Trickery released, and like a week later they did Gingerbread Stout, and now they're doing their Gold Rush Barrel Aged Saison. It's re-fermented with unpasteurized Gold Rush cider. That's going to be on Saturday. I don't know. I've never had Gold Rush cider, but okay. And Indeed Brewing out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Old Friend Holiday Ale brewed with ginger and honey. That was just released as well. And Lenny, I think you just spoke about the releases that you guys have coming up, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And
I just
I'll be sure to let y'all know about future stuff.
Sounds
For sure.
awesome.
Please
Email
do.
us. We'll announce here. I just want to correct the Shoots beers are one release is going to be a cognac barrel aged, and the other one was going to be a rye whiskey barrel aged.
For the Abyss or for Dissident?
For the Abyss. The
Okay.
Dissident one. The only thing they change is that they brew enough amount that they can move around, so it's going to be a yearly release now instead of every other year like the Abyss.
I've only ever had one beer aged in cognac barrels, and that was Sierra Nevada Ovila Abbey Double. I think it was a special release that they had aged in cognac barrels.
Which you didn't share. Yeah, I remember that.
I did not share.
We did our 20th anniversary in cognac barrels.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You still got some?
We do.
Oh yeah. Let me go to Expedia.com right now.
Flying down to Texas.
A festival's coming up. Maiden Michigan Festival in Chesterfield Township. That's going to be on November 20th. That's tomorrow. So take off from work and go drink some beer. Great Brews Classic Beers in Lake Harmony, Pennsylvania. That's going to be tomorrow and Saturday. Denver Chris Kindle Market Beer. I guess that's Market Beer Festival or Market Beer Month.
Yeah, it's called Denver Chris Kindle Market Beer. I think it's on their Central Market. They do something special there for the month.
Well, that goes from November 20th to December 23rd, so you got a lot of time to get your fix in there. Barrel and Brunch Beer Festival in Nashville, Tennessee, on November 22nd. They go hard on Sundays. And Portland Holiday Ale Festival in Portland, Oregon. That's going to be December 2nd through the 6th. Lenny, you guys have any festivals coming up that you're going to be at, or any local festivals you want to plug?
We are actually at the Untapped Festival in San Antonio this upcoming weekend. which they've done a great job with that festival. It's really half kind of alt rock music festival and half craft beer festival. It's completely split down the middle and merged together. So when they did it in Houston, like Cold War Kids was the headliners. So they have really good headliners, and they've done a really good job with that festival.
You people in Texas sure love your music, man. I tell you what.
Yeah, you got to. Austin.
So that's our show for tonight. Lenny, we want to thank you so much for spending some time with us and enlightening us about St. Arnold's. I mean, this is a brewery. I've never had any of your beer just because where I am in the access. But
I didn't share.
And Gil didn't share. Hopefully he has some. I'm going to Gil's house this weekend, so hopefully he has some beer there. And next time I go to Florida, I'll definitely be on the lookout. But thanks a lot
I'll hook you up.
The golf clap. He said billion.
We'll take care of you.
Billion. With the beat. But thanks so much for sharing some of your time with us. We know you got a little one, so
yeah, my pleasure.
We both know how it is having a little one around. So once again, thank you for your time, man. And we wish you guys nothing but the best. And cheers to doubling down on your current territory and sending more beer to the people who support you. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
The pleasure is ours. So
okay.
be sure everybody to come back and join us next week when our guest will be Gil.
It will be I want to say Old Trail. Now I forgot Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail out of Oregon.
Portland, Oregon, yeah.
I'm gonna break out the true floppy disk, the black one, the big black one that flops for real, and put it in my old Apple computer. I'm kidding. Anyway, be sure to join us next week for Oregon Trail Brewing. So until then, remember, find some great friends, get some great beer, and mind those P's and Q's.
Cheers.